Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into some heavy history. We're looking at how Adolf Hitler came to power, Nazi ideology, and crucially, the path to the Holocaust.
Yeah, it's a tough subject. We're using documentary transcripts that you, our listeners, sent over, which give us a very detailed timeline.
They really do. So we'll trace things from Hitler's early days, the Nazi Party's climb, the persecution, the war, the final solution, right up to the regime's collapse.
And our aim here isn't just to list events, is to try and understand the context, the factors that allowed this horrifying ideology to grip a nation and lead to such devastation.
Exactly. And we need to be clear, this material is incredibly sensitive. We're analyzing the history presented in these sources impartially. We're trying to understand how it happened, not endorsing any of it. Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's start. Munich, February 1919, Kurt Eisner's funeral. What's the scene?
Well, Germany's reeling from World War I defeat. It's chaos, revolution in the air. And somewhere in that massive crowd is Adolf Hitler. The sources describe him as feeling totally adrift, uprooted.
A soldier from a collapsed empire, said nothing. Was he already driven by ideology or just grabbing onto something?
It's hard to say definitively from this point. The sources suggest maybe a mix, but certainly that feeling of chaos and defeat seems core to his early thinking. He was, as one source calls him, an absolute nobody at that stage.
So how does this nobody start his climb?
Well, interestingly, his army role was key. He became an education officer, basically teaching ideology to other soldiers.
So he gets to practice speaking, refine his ideas.
Exactly. And it's around then, fall of 1919, we get the first written proof of his extreme anti-Semitism.
Yeah, one transcript mentions a document where he explicitly calls for the removal of the Jews. Chillingly clear.
He really is. And that hatred fuels his next move, joining the tiny German Workers' Party.
Which he pretty quickly shapes into the National Socialist Workers' Party, the NSDAP.
Right, and this is where his speaking skills really come into play, those beer hall rallies. The documentaries paint quite a picture.
Apparently quite the performer. Roaring, then whispering, even using humor. It sounds very calculated.
Very almost theatrical. People paid to hear him. He'd focus on things like honest labor, blaming Jewish finance, painting them as parasites. It resonated with people who felt lost and angry.
Then, 1923, the beer hall putsch. It fails, but it puts him on the map, doesn't it?
Huge turning point. He ends up in prison, sure, but it gives him national attention. And that's where Mein Kampf.
Written with a lot of input from Rudolf Hess, the sources note.
Yes, Hess's devotion was already clear. And Mein Kampf lays it all out, the nationalism, the racism, the idea of Lebensraum, living space in the East.
So the failed push teaches him something. Force didn't work yet.
Exactly. He realizes he needs to gain power through the system, legally, while still fanning the flames of discontent.
Which sets the scene for the next phase. How did they actually gain traction?
The Wall Street crash in 1929 was a massive accelerant. Germany was already fragile, remember the hyperinflation. The Depression brought crippling unemployment, despair.
Fertile ground for extremist promises.
Absolutely. And the Nazis offered simple answers, scapegoats, and a promise of national rebirth.
And this is where Joseph Goebbels becomes so important, right? The propaganda machine.
Masterful in a terrifying way. He used every tool, radio, films, posters, rallies, to hammer home the message, demonize Jews, communists, anyone deemed an enemy.
One source even mentioned children's games pushing anti-Semitism. It's insidious.
Completely. Think about the Nuremberg rallies, huge stage spectacles of power and unity. Though, interestingly, they did try to clean things up a bit for the 1936 Berlin Olympics.
A temporary facade for the international audience.
Seems like it. Took down the worst signs, told people to be polite to foreigners, even Jewish ones, but it was just image management.
And Hitler's inner circle, the sources sketch out these key figures. Hess, the true believer.
Goering, the ambitious war hero, hungry for power.
And Himmler, the quiet bureaucrat who builds this terrifying SS empire.
Right, Heinrich Himmler. And under him, Reinhard Heydrich running the ST, the security service. They created this pervasive fear, constant surveillance. Nobody felt safe, not even party members.
Himmler's organization was key to the terror state. Then the Reichstag fire, February 33. A gift for them, really.
A perfect pretext. Blame the communists, suspend civil rights, introduce protective custody.
Which leads directly to the first concentration camps, like Dachau, initially for political opponents.
Exactly. Then consolidating power internally. The Night of the Long Knives, 1934.
Wiping out potential rivals within the party, like Ernst Röhm and the SA leadership. Goering apparently helped set Röhm up.
It was brutal and efficient. It showed there was no room for dissent, even among the early comrades. Hitler's control became absolute.
Even his big peace speech in 33 likely just a tech.
Probably. To reassure people at home and abroad while he tightened his grip, his real aims were already set.
And meanwhile, they're crafting this public image, right? Hitler at the Berghof, his mountain home, shown as this simple man, loves dogs, children, nature.
All carefully staged propaganda, a stark contrast to the reality unfolding.
Which brings us to the direct persecution of Jewish people. How did that escalate?
It started economically, with boycotts of Jewish shops and businesses. Then came the laws.
Like needing an Aryan certificate to prove you weren't Jewish for certain jobs or activities?
Exactly. A gradual strangling of public life. Then the Nuremberg Laws in 1935 hit hard.
Stripping German Jews of citizenship, forbidding marriage or relationships between Jews and non-Jews, formalizing their racism into law.
A really critical step. And then Kristallnacht, November 1938, the night of broken glass.
A clear escalation to open state-sanctioned violence, not just laws anymore.
Right. Synagogues burned, businesses smashed, thousands of Jewish men arrested and sent to camps. The regime claimed it was spontaneous public anger, but the sources are clear it was orchestrated.
Designed to terrorize and push Jews to emigrate.
Yes. And after that, the ghettos, especially after invading Poland, Warsaw, Udu.
Conditions described as just horrific. Overcrowding, starvation, disease, death was everywhere.
Initially, some clung to the idea that maybe, just maybe, work could save them. Forced labor, often deadly, but perhaps a chance. It was a false hope.
Then the war itself, starting with Poland in '39, that changed everything again, didn't it?
Massively. The war provided cover. Hitler felt his racist plans, as the sources put it, were now feasible on a much larger scale.
And the invasion of the Soviet Union in '41 seems absolutely pivotal.
Crucial. Nazi ideology increasingly merged Bolshevism and Jewry into one ultimate enemy. Invading the East opened the door, in their mind, for mass murder.
And the Einsatzgruppen followed the army.
Yes, these special SS units. Their job was mass killings in the occupied East. Shootings, most. Jews, Roma, communist officials.
The massacre at Babi Yar near Kyiv, over 30,000 Jews killed in 2 days. Just unthinkable brutality.
But even these shootings were seen as inefficient and psychologically damaging for the shooters, believe it or not.
So they looked for other methods, the gas fans.
Right. Disguised trucks where exhaust fumes were piped into the back. But even those weren't fast enough for the scale they envisioned.
Which leads to the extermination camp. Auschwitz-Birkenau, Treblinka, Sobibor, Bijou.
Camps built for one purpose, industrial-scale murder, especially the Operation Reinhard camps in Poland. Pure Genocide factories.
And the Wannsee Conference in January '42 kind of formalized it all, didn't it?
It was the bureaucratic coordination.
Yeah.
High-ranking Nazis figuring out the logistics for the final solution across Europe. The minutes are just chilling in their cold administrative language about mass murder. The accounts from Auschwitz arrivals, they're harrowing. The chaos on the ramp, the SS doctors doing the selection.
Deciding who was fit enough for slave labor and who went straight to the gas chambers, the old, the sick children.
Instant. Eyewitnesses talk about the screaming, the brutality, families torn apart right there.
And the scale at Auschwitz. One source says up to 10,000 people murdered a day.
It's almost impossible to comprehend. The gas chambers, the crematoria, all designed for maximum killing efficiency. Prisoners' tattoos like cattle.
Total dehumanization. And the Sonner Command.
Jewish prisoners forced to do the most horrific job imaginable, handling the bodies from the gas chambers, burning. Their secret diaries, found later, are just devastating.
The question always comes up, what did ordinary Germans?
It's complex. The extermination camps were mostly in occupied Poland, not Germany proper. But the sources suggest it wasn't a total secret. Soldiers on the Eastern Front saw things, wrote letters home sometimes.
But widespread public knowledge or acknowledgement seems limited, or maybe suppressed willfully.
Probably a combination of factors.
Yeah.
Fear, denial, propaganda saturation. But some people definitely knew more than they admitted later.
And even as the war was clearly being lost for Germany,
the killing machine kept going. They prioritized the final solution right to the bitter end, evacuating camps, forcing prisoners on death marches in the dead of winter 44-45. Unbelievable.
Yet there was resistance. It's important to remember that.
Absolutely. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, revolts in Sobibor and Treblinka, acts of incredible courage against impossible odds. They were crushed, brutally, but they happened.
The last years of the war, Hitler sounds increasingly detached from reality.
Totally isolated, paranoid, refusing to see the military collapse, Stalingrad, the Soviets advancing, the Allies landing in Normandy.
The assassination attempt in July '44 fails, but it shows cracks within the regime itself.
Definitely. Though it led to even more brutal reprisals. Hitler's health, physical and mental, was clearly deteriorating rapidly by then.
Yet he hangs on, directing phantom armies from his Berlin bunker.
Right until the very end. His final political testament, just before suicide on April 30th, 1945, still blaming the Jews for everything.
Then Germany surrenders in May 45, and the Allies start liberating the camps.
And the full horror is revealed to the world. The footage, the photos, the reactions of the soldiers finding these places, the shock, the disbelief, and the reactions of nearby German civilians, often claiming ignorance.
Which leads to the post-war trial, Nuremberg trying the major Nazis.
And later, the Eichmann trial in Jerusalem. That's where Hannah Arendt's famous phrase, the banality of evil, comes from.
Exploring how seemingly ordinary people could participate in such extraordinary crimes.
It raises profound questions about obedience, ideology, and responsibility that we still grapple with.
Looking back at the sheer scale, over 6 million Jewish people murdered, millions of others too, Poles, Soviet prisoners of war, Roma, disabled people, political opponents, gay people. The list is horrifyingly long.
The human cost is just staggering. It underscores why understanding this history is so vital.
Absolutely. We have to learn from it to try and prevent anything like it ever happening again. And as we've seen, it wasn't simple. It was this toxic mix of politics, economics, ideology, individual choices.
A perfect storm of hatred and circumstance exploited by ruthless individuals.
So as we finish this deep dive, maybe the thought to leave you, the listener, with is this: how resilient are our own democratic system?
Yeah, and how do we recognize the warning signs? The subtle shifts towards intolerance, towards authoritarianism, the spread of hate and misinformation. What does vigilance actually look like today? That's something we're thinking about long after this conversation.